This one might be challenging to talk about. Hey guys, back again with the last review for this particular batch. This one is about a smaller film. I'm going to adjust my camera just ever so slightly. Called I Saw the TV Glow, which is a very small movie. It had a limited release back in May and kind of went wide earlier this week, and it's kind of already leaving theaters, so I anticipate it'll probably be on streaming pretty soon after I record this. But I did really want a chance to see it because I did hear just a lot of very fascinating just tidbits about this film and how just kind of emotionally devastating it is, and it's fucking unique. It's hard to talk about because there is definitely a lot going on. It is a multi-layered, emotionally complex horror drama of a film that tackles themes of feeling trapped in your own body, in your own world, and using nostalgia and media as kind of a crutch to hide from your less fulfilling life. And strong themes of derealization and just feeling like your world isn't your own, and all of these complicated things. It's really hard to talk about without spoilers, so I might talk a little bit about that halfway through, but I do recommend you experience this cold first before you do that. So go watch the film however you may watch it, and come back and watch the I'll let you know when. But this movie stars Justice Smith as Owen and Bridget Lundy-Paine as Maddie, who are two kids who meet when they're younger, when he's in 7th grade and when she's in 9th. And she is this massive fan of this TV show that was running at the time called The Pink Opaque. And who's a show that was for quote-unquote for girls. Justice Smith kind of starts getting into it too, and the two form a bond over their love for this show. And the show itself is about two girls who discover they have a psychic link to each other, and they kind of they fight a monster of the week in different sides of the country that are servicing this larger villain who is basically the moon, called Mr. Melancholy. And Mr. Melancholy is behind a lot of the evil of the world, and the two need to work together through their psychic link to stop it. It feels very Ghost Rider, for those who remember that show back in the day, kind of those slightly cheesy older teen audience TV shows that were popular back in the 90s. I want to say it was about the 90s. But as they get older and they start kind of getting more closer to adulthood, their perceptions of their reality kind of get more skewed. Maddie in particular has a very tough time reconciling with the real world. She's very much obsessed with this show, and at one point when they're in their teenage years, she just disappears and they don't hear from her for a long time. So Owen kind of grows up. He gets his own job. He starts making his own income. You just do things as you naturally evolve into adulthood. But then when Maddie suddenly reappears with some big news, suddenly everyone's perception of reality is in question, and what they choose to do with that knowledge is vastly different. Now, this is a movie where you can tell, one very interesting thing about this is, first off, Justice Smith. I have to give credit to this guy because he's kind of been I don't want to say the butt of a joke, but he's kind of in that comedic side character role. He really has a chance to shine in this movie, and he does a phenomenal job. This is an Oscar-leading performance. And same thing for Bridget Lundy-Paine. She does a fantastic job of selling this character, of selling the obsession, and really playing into what is reality. But that being said, it does take very careful pains to set Owen up very early on, because he does narrate directly to the audience, that he is not a reliable narrator, and that really plays into the mindfuck, for lack of a better term, that really plays into the second and third act, especially the third act, which is the one that has stuck with me like glue since I've seen it. One scene in particular, again, I don't want to give it away. The words he said in there just fucking haunt me today, haunt me days later. So, God, this is where it gets hard to talk about with going into spoilers. First, other things I could talk about. The creature design they show for the actual TV show they're actually really cool. They got some really cool makeup and special effects they did there. I thought some of the subtle things they do with it was really cool to look at. I really like the monster designs. I was talking about the unreliable narrator. That's always going with this. So a lot of the times when you really have no way of knowing if what you're seeing is actually happening through the entire film. Your entire perception of reality is constantly put to the test. And it gets to a boiling point where you can definitely tell the main character is lying to himself and he knows it. And that creates a really interesting dynamic going into the third act of the film. God, this movie's really fucking hard to talk about. Okay, so I think it's all I can really say without going into spoilers. So I do say I think this is definitely worth a watch. I can see it's ended up in a lot of top 10 best lists, and it's hard to see myself watching this again because it is kind of a hard sit, but I might actually watch it again just to try to understand it better, because I can already tell there are a lot of people much smarter and quicker at media analysis that are going to have a lot of fascinating things to say about this movie going forward. So, but I do say go see it if it's in a theater playing near you, or go stream it when it comes out, probably next week. It is definitely worth a watch. It is definitely a very introspective film, very existential film, and if that's kind of your bag, then you'll have not have a good time, but you'll be given a lot to think about. So full spoilers from here on out, because I do just need to talk about this. So Maddie disappears when she's a teenager. She comes back as 10 years later as an adult, and reunites with Owen, and then kind of positions herself as the only one who knows the truth, in that the world she lives in now, that both of them live in now, is actually a trap by Mr. Melancholy, and what really happened was that the TV show was their actual life. So in order to get back to their real life, they need to bury themselves alive. Obviously, Owen has some concerns about this, and he kind of bails. But the movie never really tells you if that is correct or not. It very much leaves it open to interpretation. And because, again, Owen is an unreliable narrator, there's really no way to know. It's very ambiguous, disturbingly so. But that being said, I think it also plays into this larger idea, because Maddie makes this grand point during her monologue where she reveals this truth of saying just how mundane her life was, how none of it felt real, how all of it felt disconnected from who she really is meant to be. But what she's meant to be, conveniently, is in the show that she loved when she was a child. So this creates this interesting dynamic of using nostalgia to fill a hole that is created by just the unexciting way most of our lives end up turning out. It feels like we're rejecting destiny by accepting the mundanity of life, but that's just what life is. So a lot of this movie explores is how nostalgia for what we loved as a kid is not a substitute for living your life. It doesn't fill that hole. It doesn't mean your life has meaning. It doesn't create meaning. It's just a TV show. There was even a part towards the end of the film where just for Owen is he's I think they do a 40-year time jump, where some long stretch of time, 20 years, where he just looks older. His lips are crusty. He looks malnourished. He looks like he is actively dying. And again, that plays into either whatever the reality is, because from Maddie's point of view, Maddie's theory to be correct, it also means that years feel like seconds to these two girls in the TV show, and the show ends with both of them being buried alive. Therefore, it could be that he's just actually dying in her real body, which means that there's also themes of being trans in this movie as well, which is also very prominent throughout the film. So I'm not knowledgeable enough in that to really comment on it outside of I think it was very interesting how they weaved that into their narrative. But anyway, so he works at this kind of like this they call it like Fun Factory or something like no, not Fun Factory, but it's like just like a Dave and Buster's type of place where they host birthday parties, and he's just kind of just sleepwalking through life. He clearly doesn't have enough much strength left in him to barely function. And there's a part where he's like they're all saying happy birthday to this kid in one of their like birthday rooms, and he just starts shouting about, oh my god, I'm dying, please somebody help me, I need help, I don't know what to do. And everyone just stares at the ground, unable to look at him, unable to acknowledge him, as if like everyone just froze in place as he's having this moment, as if they're not there either. It's a fucking haunting sequence. Just followed up by him in the bathroom where he's locked himself in, and he takes a box cutter and cuts his like chest open from chest to sternum, chest to like the belly button, and rips it open, revealing like these rays of TV. And it's the only time you really see him happy, kind of making this implication that, you know, he's only happy when he is filling this empty space in his chest with the TV show he loved as a child. But again, even right after this, he has to go back to his mundane life. Nostalgia isn't enough to fill the hole in your life. It's not enough to just create fulfillment. You need to add it with other things of greater value. Like he even says at the beginning, like that he has like a family now that he loves more than anything. But that's how you know he's lying to himself, because we never see them. He never really talks about them. They just exist somewhere off screen. So all these things play a very haunting, depressing, sad, melancholy trip. That is just a fascinating exploration of our current obsession with nostalgia. Well, not current. Every generation falls into an obsession with nostalgia. It's just part of life. But this is something I've always talked about in, I think, my Craven the Hunter video, where nostalgia is a lie. Nostalgia is just rose-tinted glasses on a less than pleasing part of our lives. It's never been a substitute for actually living it. So there's a lot to chew on here, is what I'm getting at. And I think... Fuck, I might need to watch this again. It's a mindfuck, people. It's a great mindfuck. And I hope you saw me before you watch my spoiler section of this, because otherwise I just gave away like the best scene in the film. But if you haven't already, go see it. I'm probably not doing it justice in my description of it, but I do think there's so much to chew on with it, and I'm really glad a movie like this got to exist and got the recognition that it's gotten so far. So that's my review of I Saw the TV Glow. Excellent film, highly recommend. And then I'm gonna keep watching their stuff to review for you guys. So thank you all so much. And again, I lost my job recently, so if you have the ability, my Patreon link's in the description. Please help out if you can. I would really like to be able to keep the lights on while I start engaging my job hunt. So thank you all so much for your time, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.